Kev, it's time for the top 5 things to watch next week. But as always, before we get into the top 5 things to watch this upcoming week, we go and review what we talked about last week. And so
Whoa, Patrick, wait 1 second. Before we start, I think we have to kind of give a big mea culpa for missing something.
Oh, we totally fubbed. We totally fubbed. We were like, what are we going to talk about? And of course, there's a goddamn Fed meeting and a huge jobs number, and it doesn't make our top 5 list.
Yeah, that shows. I think we were just so excited about having other things to put in the top 5 than Fed and the jobs that we missed the most important thing of the week.
Anyway.
So we just wanted to say we are aware that was not correct and that you really should have been watching both the Fed and the jobs number. But let's go through our top 5 things to watch next week. Number 5, Tesla.
Yeah, so Tesla, right? Well, that we had him do a capital raise, right? We broke down, and then they put that deal.
Yeah, and I'm actually quite surprised about it because I actually thought that when we broke down that we would be close enough to the point where his margin calls would kick in.
Yeah.
And that they would smell blood, but good for him. He's managed to do a raise into he raised it. Sorry, go ahead.
Isn't it amazing? But isn't it amazing? Like Goldman Sachs has a $200 price target on Tesla, and they are the lead on the raise at $245.
Yeah.
How are they convincing their Muppets to do all this?
It's not them. It's that crazy lady that runs that fund that has a $4,000 target on Tesla, and I'm not shitting you. She has a $4,000 target.
Catherine Wood.
I don't know what her name is. And then there's that other guy, the social guy. He's also a crazy bull. There's some people who just drink the Kool-Aid and they manage to buy this issue and clean it up. And now with that kind of overhead problem that was looming before out of the woods, we're seeing a situation where it rallies all day into the deal, and we close right back.
Yeah, but there's dilution now, so I guess you can't play the card that.
Yeah, you know what the trouble, Patrick, about that idea about there's dilution. The people that are bullish see such a large upside to this stock that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Like literally, they're talking. This lady's getting on and seriously talking about $4,000 price target. She just drunk the Kool-Aid and she believes, and it's like it doesn't matter.
I'm almost sure you're thinking Catherine Wood.
I'm pretty sure that's her. And ARK Investments, that's the lady. So she's for her, she's thinking about this as a big play, and she's probably saying it's either 0 or it's 4,000, and got a lot of money that she can put to work, and so she's buying it, and that's causing the stock to stabilize. And now the question is, is there been enough technical damage that we're going to actually find that this, what was previously support that broke, will that be resistance on the way back up? Or will we get back into that and this kind of be a reverse?
Well, you know what I'll tell you exactly is that, look, there was a one-day reaction up, but wouldn't it be something if the bulls couldn't follow through on the buying in the coming week?
Well, that would be something. Wait, before we go any further, I just want to kind of a big shout out to my pal Ross Gerber, who I'm sure loves me. But, I'm not very good at technical analysis. I don't know all the Fibonacci's and all that stuff. But even I know on the way down, it doesn't break resistance. It breaks support. He did this guy has got like 60,000 followers, and this guy is a huge Tesla bull, and he basically started arguing about the fact that it broke resistance and that therefore he was going to have to sell out of prudent risk management policies. I'm convinced this guy isn't real, and this is he's just an actor. He's like an LA actor playing this character. And I think that whoever's handling that account should be careful, because if they keep making mistakes like that, we're going to know he's not real. All right, let's move on to number 4. Trump tweets.
Well, obviously oil's been selling since then, hasn't it? And what we have is a scenario where we were overdue for a pause. Even as a technician, there's an ebb and flow in trading. After a rise, there's always a retracement, some sort of backfill after such a move. And so what I'm going to be curious about is whether or not the buyers support things here in the next few dollars. Like pulling back, $6-7 after such a huge rise would be a very normal occurrence. It would be whether or not if the buyers don't show up and don't buy the dip, then something really nasty is happening. So I actually think that watching oil in the coming week may be even more important than what in the past week, because the buyers should buy this dip
Right.
if oil's going to bounce.
Well, the fact that you said it's going to be more important next week is probably correct, because we won't have it on our top 5 next week. Number 3, where does Disney stop? Let's have a look.
It did stop. We nailed it. It basically peaked out around 142 and paused. Now it's backfilling, but listen, a match has been lit under this thing, and this pullback might be bought on dip. So by no means am I trying to already call this an end. Very similarly, if we see that in the coming week or two that this thing holds in here and they reverse it back to 140, you never know when there's no way I could justify this from a fundamental perspective. So this is going to be a momentum run. Will they be able to run this thing to like 150, 160? What's your thinking?
Oh, I don't know. It's 1,800 million shares outstanding. I'm just looking at this. The market
it's a
cap,
250 billion market cap.
Yeah. So what did it add when it made that gap higher on the announcement of?
That's a 50 plus billion for sure.
Yeah, on some streaming service.
Right. No. See, stop using fundamentals, because you can't justify. This is like a Tesla valuation thing. Like you're either drinking the Kool-Aid that they're going to make astronomical money from this, or this is just way overdone, right?
So you think that this is a natural pause? It wouldn't surprise me at all if we go back and we're back into that gap in the coming months. I'm not bullish. I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid.
No, all I know is that the market breadth keeps narrowing, and people and traders that are trading momentum are being drawn into fewer and fewer stocks that have that big momentum. And if Disney is one of those few, then you never know whether this thing can still have another leg higher. I think it's absurd that it's here. Dude, if it came back to 120, I would not be surprised. I mean, you're not thing, but I think it's too big. I think it's too big for it to have this sort of momentum. I understand your argument, but those are smaller stocks. I think this is a really big stock. I think it's going to be trouble. Oh yeah, like Apple, Amazon, and all these other stocks have had these problems.
That's a bigger gap than most, right? Like that's a bigger gap than most.
Yeah.
And maybe Steve Jobs' widow will be selling this rally. Because she's one of the biggest holders. I think she's the biggest individual holder. Although I'm going through the list here and I don't see her anymore, so maybe she sold it. She's smart enough to sell it. Anyways, go on.
Anyway,
number 2, fading
the dollar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So far it's worked. Certainly there has not been a break to a higher high since last week.
Right. There was a bullish reaction. I remember this because there was all the kind of technical guys that were going, we've now broken out, so we're going to explode higher. And I was
me.
Yeah, and I was
I was in that camp.
By the time these guys start buying it, you got to start selling it to them. And looks like we're there. I still contend, though, it's an uptrend. This is a little bit of a correction. You should probably be buying dips. We're headed higher. I'm not like the technicians saying if it goes higher, I'll buy it.
My God, stop.
We're headed higher.
You've pigeonholed every technical trader now to that one saying.
I managed to piss off
everyone says that.
85% of our listeners which are technical traders, and the 15% that aren't are on my camp. Anyways, semiconductors. Let's have a look at that thing.
Yeah. So, it paused, but it's been bouncing. And even Intel, which was the culprit in causing that reversal, the has got that little green candle. I mean, it's now oversold. You like playing like little mean reversion of these overshoots, and so like this thing going back to 54, 55 is not out of line. If that happens, then a double top retest on the SMH might be possible. I still contend, even though I do not believe. Remember, we have a bet on this, right?
What was
I
our
don't.
bet?
Oh my God! You already forgot.
Yeah, we got to write them down.
Yeah,
I'm gonna write
no,
them
I
down.
already
So
I wrote it down.
What is
I
it?
wrote it down. But the SMH by the end of May was going to be one of the top 5 performing sectors.
Oh, that's right. I remember that. Yeah. Okay, that's right.
Right.
Okay.
So we still have that bet. And while I don't think that SMH has to break down badly, I don't think it's going to be one of the top 5. And so I'm going to stick with that.
Okay, well, I would say, wouldn't you argue that after the Intel news that you thought was so horrific, it's actually hanging in there? You have to give me credit.
I didn't dispute that. I just don't think it's going to be a great place to put your money. I think that you're going to lose the bet.
Okay.
I'll still stand by that.
Okay,
Anyway,
top
so
5 things to watch next week. Hopefully, we
Yes.
do a better job at picking things that actually matter. Okay. Well, no,
All right, Kev.
This next one is actually near and dear to my heart. I know you're not a big futures trader. You actually.
Oh
are
my
more-
God! Of course I'm not.
Yeah,
I love for trading futures.
Really? I kind of
Yeah.
thought you were more of an option guy and a spy.
Yeah,
guy.
I do.
Like,
I do all of that.
yeah, but like I personally love the futures. I'd rather trade futures any day of the week. So now, what the news is, there's going to be micro E-mini futures for the pikers of us that don't want to trade a full contract of E-minis. And one of the things you have to realize is that the S&P used to be way lower. Like
Yeah.
when it was, think about it, it was $666 in 2008.
Yeah.
What was the contract value at that time worth? Like,
Well,
let's just go 500 times or 50 times.
It was whatever, like $50,000,
It
$60,000.
was 30
Now,
grand. It was 30 grand. It was 30
Yeah.
grand at the lows. Okay,
Right.
and now
Well,
all of a sudden,
thir-
a regular
it's like
E-mini,
140, 150, right?
yeah, a regular E-mini is 2950 times 50. It's 147 grand.
Yeah, yeah.
So they're making contracts in both. I think there's 4 of them. It's the Nasdaq, the S&P, the Dow Jones, and there's something else. I'm not really sure. Oh wait, you got it up there.
Yeah.
The Dow.
The Russell,
mini
Nasdaq Dow.
The Russell.
Yeah.
This is great news. This is terrific. This is awesome for anybody that's kind of wanting to trade futures, but have found that the contracts are too large. And
Yeah.
I'm super excited. I think this is a terrific development from the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. I applaud it, and everyone should be aware. Come Monday, there's going to be micro E-minis trading on those 4 indexes. Watch for them, and
I think it'll be and I'm pretty sure that because they can be cross hedges, it's going to have good liquidity.
That's right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely correct. It was just like when they made the E-mini versus the big one, because don't forget the E-minis weren't the original contract. There used to be a 250 multiplier. Oh, I say used to be. I think there still is.
There still is.
The 250 multiplier on the big contract, and they went and introduced the E-minis, and they became kind of the standard. But let's just figure out what 250 times like 2950. The big ones are $737,000 a contract.
Oh, yeah.
It's an institutional size contract. This is a great development. Well done, Merck.
Yeah. And so, number 2, I wanted to talk to you about where the market's heading next.
Whoa, 1 second. That's number 4, Patrick. Okay, but it's okay.
Too much of this flying monkey stuff that
That's
I'm
right, the
drinking.
flying monkey.
It's
Okay, let's
12
go
minutes it's 12 minutes of destiny or 12 minutes to the end of the show. We gotta keep
right.
moving. But number 4, I wanted to talk to you about what's happening here in the markets. And me and you have very different views. I'm still generally in the camp. I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid that this is real, but let's be realistic. There's a point where when we're trading at all-time new highs that I'm going to have to start giving you some kudos for continuing to stick with this. But I think that we're about to get a big tell. The reaction in the days after the Fed, we weakened in the first reaction, and then it rallied right back to the highs. And so we're right up here. Is this thing got enough in the tank to just rip higher and begin new 52-week highs, or is this just a retest of the highs and going to begin at the small topping formation that brings about some form of a market correction? It's I'm curious to see. I mean, do you have a bias? I mean, obviously you have a bias, right?
Well, I have a bias, but a little part of me is worried that we're going to prairie dog this something fierce. Like, we ticked to new highs, right, on the S&P the day before the Fed.
Yeah.
And then we sold off. Now, in the next couple of days, we've rallied back up to the highs, but we haven't gone through it yet. I hope I'm correct. I hope that it keeps going, but
I don't. But anyway,
I know. But you know what? When you finally get bullish and you tell me
I'll let
because
you.
it's broken out, I'll sell it to you. You can have it then.
All right. So anyway, I think it's the thing to watch, right? I mean, I know what I want the market to do, but it's definitely in my mind one of the top 5 things to watch next week. So number 3. Did you want to say it, or you want me to? Anyway, I'll say it. Did Powell squash the steepener trade? And what was interesting was that the yield. Let me just actually pull it up over here. But the steepeners started to kick in before the Fed, and so we had first of all, you had your favorite. Your favorite trade, which is the 530s. You've been calling for that to pull back, though, right?
Right. So I haven't liked the steepener as much as everybody else has lately, and actually,
did you cover it in the last little bit?
Yeah, I don't have any of that on right now. I still think that over the next 5 to 10 years, it's going to be the trade of the decade, but. Now, well, that would be just like me to call something the trade of the decade and then take it off for
a swing, and then you miss it on the other side.
Exactly. Yeah, that would just be
don't pull a Kevin Murr.
Okay.
Anyway, but what was interesting to me though was the 210s, because this is the big one that everyone seems to watch for the recession signal and whether there's an inversion here. And what it looked like was that in the last couple of weeks it was breaking out, and that the steepener was being set in motion, and that got squashed on the Fed. And at least on a short-term basis. What's your feeling here?
So I think this is actually a really important point to delve into. All you guys that are economic bears got super excited about the kind of the dovish words that were cooed by the Fed over the past couple months.
Okay.
And as usual, Wall Street has taken those words and gone too far with them. I just don't buy that the Fed is anywhere close to ready to cut rates. And that is what the market is starting to price in, or had priced in. And that is why when Powell came out and said that inflation might be, what was the word he used? Transitory.
Right.
They freaked out because they said, holy shit, maybe he's not as dovish as I thought he was. And maybe they're not about to lower rates like we thought. And that is why I think we're seeing the yield curve flatten. And,
fair enough. And you see that but you also see that, like, you look at here's the 2-year yield, right? The 2-year bond, and you can see that it pulled right back. The 2-year yield spiked, but you're basically, this is where I'll agree with you that because Neil did a great job earlier talking about the fact that everybody in the Eurodollar markets was crowded to the one side. Everyone was convinced that the cycle's turned. And I think the Fed just gave everyone a wake up call that maybe it's not as imminent.
It's not just listen. This is where I disagree with you. It's not just the Eurodollar markets; it's everywhere. Mm-hmm. And this is ultimately why I'm bullish U.S. dollars. Why I think the stock market could head higher. I think that everyone has convinced themselves that the economy is about to roll over. The Fed is about to chase the market, the yield curve down, and that things are just going to go to hell in a handbasket. And I just don't think that it's as bad as everyone believes. And I saw that Scott Minerd, I don't know how to say it, from Guggenheim. He's a lot smarter than me. He's definitely a lot tougher than me. You seen that guy? He looks like a football linebacker.
Yeah.
But he I hope he doesn't listen. He's going to come beat me up. But the reality is that he thinks that the Fed's next move is a hike, not a cut.
I don't subscribe to that at all. Okay. I'm in the consensus. I'll admit it, and you can shame me for that. But
no. 1 second. No need to shame you. I think that
the market will do it.
This is a good bet. This is a good bet. I think this is a good one. We got to do this one, and this one will eventually the next Fed move on the Fed funds, up or down. I think I'll take up. You take down.
Really?
Yeah.
Done. But are we going to tell me we're going to do something more than a Duke and Duke bet on this?
Yeah, we got to do more than a Duke and Duke. Let's do something that's fun.
We're going to have Lena start writing these things down.
Yeah, we should.
Because
I know what we'll do. I can't afford the steak dinners if I lose all these ones. But what we're going to do is we're going to do a burger joint at your favorite place.
Okay, sounds
okay.
Like
so
plan, yeah.
Burger joint bet. There you go. Burger joint bet.
All right, on the next Fed move.
Yep.
That sounds like a plan. All right. So with that said, I don't think that after listening to Aiden earlier, I personally have to think that you're going to be very wrong. He's a
smart guy, that Aiden. He really is.
Yeah, and
he probably take all. You two get along like like a house on fire. You guys are exactly the same, right?
Well, no, he's a little bit smarter than me, but that's
right.
Okay.
Well, I'll vouch for that. Number 2, let's go have a look.
Inflation, and I mean, we could almost have another bet on this one too, right? Like I think that this is one of our bigger points of contention in general between the two of us, right?
Yeah.
And certainly, didn't you say that Ross Gerber had a say in this as well?
Can you pull up his latest tweet? Now, I'm not sure, again, that Ross Gerber is a real guy and that it could just be somebody running this account. But he says, there is no inflation coming. Powell acts like he saw the White Walkers. Personally, I don't really understand that tweet, whatever. But the fact that Ross Gerber's in your camp made me feel really warm and fuzzy inside, Patrick.
Oh, my God. Okay. So, but for why is it that we put it on our top 5? I mean, we've talked about inflation with the headline on Bloomberg and stuff, but it really is that next week, starting on Thursday, is the U.S. PPI, and then we have the CPI numbers coming out on Friday, right. And obviously. All eyes are going to be on this because is the inflation number going to come in hot? Clearly there's a strong influence on commodity trends, and commodity prices have not been strong, right? And I mean, maybe oil.
Well, oil has, energy has, and energy is a huge component. The question is the rest of it, But it's okay. Ross Gerber says it'll be okay, so you're fine. Don't worry about it, Patrick.
I am with Ross on this one. All right. Yeah. So number 1, we were going to talk about Buffett. He had the shareholder meeting, and also I wanted to just kind of put in there his him buying Amazon.
Yeah.
Right.
So you know who actually asked me if I was going was our good buddy Cuppy. Remember Cuppy?
Yeah.
Yeah, like Sting, right? The great trade Scorpio tankers. He's a true value guy, so he worships up at the altar of Buffett, and he's going to the. Oh my God! Did you dial Sting? You better dial this before we do anything more.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
it's running. This is the huddle effect.
It has nothing to do with all the years of work that Cuppy put into it. It's only he got on our show, right?
He got onto our show. That's all it is, right? Our listeners get the benefit, and now that they got the, or actually no, our listeners still haven't heard the stock picks from Aiden, so they'll get that later on in the show.
You're absolutely right. But we got to get Cuppy back on. But interestingly enough, he is at the Warren Buffett or the Berkshire Hathaway kind of pilgrimage to Omaha. Have you ever gone, Patrick? Do you?
No, I have not. No, I do not.
Yeah.
No,
Well, yeah.
no.
You know what? I think that
That's too much. That's too much value investing for me.
That's right. I think that they would hear you're a technical analyst and they would like stop you at the door. I think they would actually.
Yeah,
check
they wouldn't
your
even let me
credentials.
in.
That's right. They would be like, they have a very very famous rule about nobody that's a CMT. Is that what you are, a CMT?
Yeah.
A
The
CMT.
country
They'd be
music.
like, no CMTs are allowed. I think that's what they would say. No, actually, they're very nice people. I'm sure they would take you as long as you.
Anyway.
Cherry Coke.
I love cherry Coke. No, just kidding. But I don't actually. But Amazon, though. Buffett announced that he's putting on a position in Amazon. I mean, is his market timing skill? Either he's going to look like a rock star. Like, okay, let me just stop for a second and really rewind, okay? Warren Buffett, can we agree he's been around for a while? I mean,
Yeah, that's right.
has he been around for at least the last decade? He's been around,
Yeah,
right?
no, but what's the big handle on his age? It's still an 8, isn't it? Like I think it's still an 8.
Yeah,
but
he's not
close
in his
to a
90s.
9, but it's
No,
close
yeah.
to a 9, right? Like
Right.
Yeah.
And so Warren Buffett back in 2009 clearly did not see value in Amazon at $40.
yeah,
He didn't see in 2014-15 value in Amazon at $300 a share. But he lets this thing go up multiple thousandfold, or not thousandfold, but like tenfold plus. And now he's a buyer near 2000.
Okay, so to be fair to Warren, it's not him buying it. It's one of his lieutenants. And he says he was an idiot for not buying the stock before. Obviously,
Well, I'm an idiot for not having bought it before either. Like,
That's
I mean,
right.
I could join that camp.
right, but it's not him. The point is, it's not him. He's not
Right.
buying Amazon. It's whoever this fellow is. They don't even list him in the article in terms of who it is. But he's trying to pass it on to the next generation, because let's face it, he hasn't got another 2 decades of investing ahead of him. And actually,
Yeah.
here's a question for you. I have a buddy that this is a little like morbid, but he thinks the stock market will top on the day that Warren passes away. Now, we don't want to wish anybody ill will. So like, I hope Warren goes another couple of decades and he's picking stocks at 110 or 120 years old.
Oh.
But I do think this is an interesting kind of concept that he has, that this will be this, that somehow, I don't really get where he's coming from, but he's insistent that this will be the top in this kind of bull market, and that you should watch for it. And anyways,
But he's in good health. I mean, he pounds back a cherry Coke every day.
Exactly my style in terms of what he buys. But speaking of that, let's just talk a little bit about Oxy. He's buying. He's giving not Canadian Occidental. It's no longer Canadian
Occidental Petroleum,
but it's Occidental Petroleum. He's given them a blank check to go out and buy Anadarko. It was actually super interesting. Did you follow that,
Yeah.
Patrick?
No, I didn't. But we'll look up this chart here. So, I mean, the stock's now at $58. I mean, look at being an energy investor sucks. Like in the last year, like owning these, like ConocoPhillips, any of these things, like it's been a tough go, eh?
Yeah, Patrick, it's been ugly in the energy square. It just doesn't seem to be able to get off the mat. And I actually have a kind of theory about this, and it kind of dovetails with our idea about the tobacco stocks that we were talking about in This Week in Market History. Way back when the tobacco stocks were a terrible investment, nobody wanted to own them. You were kind of viewed as like a dirty investor by buying them, and yet they ended up being some of the best performing stocks going forward. I really actually agree. I think that Jared Dillian came up with this theory that the oil stocks have become the tobacco stocks of this next kind of cycle, and that we're going to see them get cheaper and cheaper, and that eventually they're going to hit a point where they actually outperform the rest of the market because they become so cheap. And I don't know if we're at that point yet, and if we have to see them actually get sued like the tobacco stocks did. But I think that's the reason that the oil stocks can't get off the mat, is the fact that investors just don't want to be seen owning like a dirty stock. And I don't
know if it's about dirty or not, but I'll tell you this much, that like some of the Canadian energies are just selling at ridiculously cheap prices, but nobody's they're not being bid up. I mean, there's value guys coming in there buying it, and they're just losing money and watching these things bleed. At some point, it's going to be a no-brainer to own these. But I said at some point it was a no-brainer to own gold miners back in 2015,
Right.
and I'm still singing the same tune
So,
4
so
years
Patrick,
later.
I'll leave it to you to decide when we have no brain. On that note, let's just call
All right.